his pedestal.
So, we're going to tell you guys a story about how ballooning started. This is real. This is no bullshit. I swear to God, this is legit. 1783, Paris, France. Couple of brothers. They're twins. They're twin brothers, right? These guys are hanging out, chilling, drinking a few beers at like this bar. They're sitting outside, hanging out, checking out hot chicks. Back in the days, chicks used to all wear dresses, and they see these girls walking over the vents in the streets that'd be blowing up the hot air, and they saw the dresses flying up in the air and shit, and they were like, dude, I can see ass. So they're sitting there, they're scanning, right? And they're trying to see if they can see like a little full frontal or whatever they're looking for. And in the meantime, they start getting to thinking. They're like, you know, I wonder what's making their dress fly up, because we need to find some kind of a way to make these dresses fly up more. So they went over and they felt the thing and the vent, and they were like, dude, this air's hot. It must be the steam or the smoke that's coming out of there. Smoke. Well, maybe if we get some smoke going, I wonder if we could, like, you know, a few beers. You guys know what happens. I mean, next thing you know, 400-pound chicks start looking sexy, and you start thinking about like how to fill bags and fly them in the air. So they said, well, I wonder if they're paper makers, they had a paper making company, and they said, well, what if we built a big ass bag and we filled this thing up with smoke and shit, and we just filled it up and it got big, and like, what if that happened? I wonder if it would fly away. So these guys go have a few more beers, and they go down the street to their paper making, and then they make this big old bag, and they make this big old fire, and no shit if they don't fill this thing up and let it go, and off goes the bag. So they're sitting there and they really start drinking. After a few more beers, they're like, I wonder if this thing can take up some people. So then they go and they sew together this big ass bag with this big ass fire, and they got old like tires and magazines and old bullshit in there, beer bottles, the whole nine. And this fire's big and it's just big, right? They have a lot of tires.
Pneumatic tires.
It's filled with smoke. There's smoke everywhere. And they get this bag and they hold it over, and then right before they go to let go of the bag and let the bag fly off, they kind of puss out. Now they're in the middle of a farm field and they're like, well, we don't want to go. What if we die? Well, there's some animals, so they found a sheep, and then they found a rooster, and then they found a duck. So they find this sheep, and this rooster, and they take these three animals, and they stick these shits in this big bucket, and they just fill this thing with air and the smoke and this fill, and it's just, and then they tie the thing to the bottom, and there's just animals and just fire.
Oh my God.
Fucking awesome. And they let it go and it flies away, and the balloon lands like a half-mile away. All the animals are alive. The only problem was the sheep stepped on the duck's leg and broke it, and that was ballooning's first.
You really do need a new
We sit at home in the living room and practice. Okay, Dad, this is the part where you go, oh. Okay, so they got all this shit, and they're ready to fly. And they build this really huge bag, this really huge platform, and they got this pit in the middle, and so they can keep the fire going and they can fly longer than like a half mile or whatever. They fill this thing up and fill it, and boom, and there's fire and all this shit, and they go to get inside of it and they puss out again. And they're like, well, wait a minute. There's a prison down the street, let's go down and get us some convicts. And they go down to the prison, they're like, yeah, nobody cares about convicts, they're not real people. So they throw these convicts inside this thing, and off floats the balloon, and the balloon lands in a field, and the farmer comes out with this pitchfork, because he sees this thing belching smoke, and he thinks that it's like aliens mutating the human form, and he goes over and he stabs the shit, and he kills the people and fucks them up. The people are all dead, right? So these guys chase him, they get in their truck, and they chase him over to this field, and they pull up. As they're backing up the trail of the mess, they notice all these guys are like dying and shit, and there's blood everywhere and everything. And they come over and they're like, what's the deal? And they say, well, we thought they were aliens. So these guys go back to the drawing board, have a few more beers. They're like, how can we let these guys know that they're not mutated fucking aliens or some shit? And they said, well, maybe what we could do is bring champagne, because we're in France and it's 1783, and you can't get champagne on Mars, so you can only get it in France. We're gonna take some of that in the balloon. So these guys finally build a huge bag. It's the biggest bag of them all, and they got a fire pit, and it's huge, and fucking smoke, and it's big, and they fill this thing up, and the bag is just out of hand, right? These guys get in it this time. They step their game up. They float off in the bag, and as they're coming into land, out comes the farmer with his pitchfork and his shotgun. He's ready to kick some ass. And these guys take a piece of string, and they tie it around the lid of this champagne shit, and they like let it off the side, and as they're coming into the field, the farmer grabs it and goes, dude, champagne, you guys didn't get this shit. at a liquor store on Mars. Let's party. So the balloon lands and everyone's partying and they're drinking and ballooning is born. I swear to God, the whole shit is true, all of it. The duck thing, the backing up the trailer, all of it's real. So ballooning gets like hugely popular and everyone's loving it in Europe. And then the Irish here, the people are drinking at 3:30 in the morning. So the Irish are like, yeah, we're in. So the Irish are in, and the Irish are not only alcoholics, but they're also
Catholic.
Religious.
That's a rumor. It's a rumor.
It's a verifiable rumor.
It's rumored that they're religious.
Yeah. Right.
So they find out everyone's drinking, they're like, let's party. And the Irish come and they're like, well, if we're going to do all this partying and drinking in the morning and fly and doing all this dangerous shit with sheeps and roosters and trailers and bonfires and everything, then we should have a prayer. So that way God can look at us and be like, you know, okay, we won't kill those guys this time. So they make this prayer, and we're going to tell you the prayer, and then afterwards, you guys drink your champagne, but you don't use your hands. Okay. Now, if you do use your hands, and my homeboy here is going to grab that bottle of champagne that's still full, and he's going to crack you over the head with it. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Someone's going to get it today. So the prayer goes like this, all right? Hats off, please.
Tell them how to take it up, how to drink it.
Well, they're going to drink it without their hands. I don't give a shit how they do it. I would suggest using your teeth.
Okay,
We have all been kids.
Bend over, grab with your teeth, and drink. Not right now.
gotta do the prayer.
After the prayer.
Oh,
Sorry, this story is
wait.
this story is filled with false starts.
And rumors.
Okay, so the prayer goes like this: the winds have welcomed you with softness, and the sun has blessed you with his warm hands. You've flown so high, so well, that God has joined you in your laughter and sent you gently back in the loving arms of Mother Earth. Amen. Drink. Oh, there's still people drinking.
You can do it all night. It's no fair, Ronnie. That's my girl.
Everybody, welcome to ballooning.
Salute.
Folks, you never have to do this again.